So you just bought your dream home, and now it's time to move. Let's face it, nobody likes to move. All the packing, unpacking, lifting, upstairs, downstairs, and broking everything, including your back. Let the professionals at EJA Moving Company take all the stress and pain out of your move. Competitively priced moving, relocation services, office moves, and complete packing and unpacking services. They work with everybody to make it simple and easy for you to move and relocate. Call EJA Moving Company at 315-335-0516. When it's time to relocate, have EJA Moving do all the work for you. Hit them up online, ejamoving.com.
Hey, Disruption Network. This is Mike Sacco, the general manager at Nye Volkswagen of Rome. If you don't know me by name, it's only because you have not received the best deal. There's only one reason to leave Utica, and that's to come see me in Rome and get the best deal on your next new, pre-owned, or certified VW. Mention that you heard this ad from Disruption Network and receive $250 off your next vehicle purchase. You'll know why our customers say, I love my Nye VW. Come see us at 5865 Rome Taberg Road in Rome, or visit us online at nyvwofrome.com.
Want to know what's going on at the D? Hit up DisruptionNetwork.net and check out our events calendar, brought to you by the Events Co. Find out about upcoming guests, special events, concerts, show schedules, community activities, and more. Get connected at DisruptionNetwork.net.
Heather Beebe. We are live here on Facebook, right here on Disruption Network. If you are not catching this live, I thank you for tuning in after the fact. You can find me on several different platforms. If you have any questions, message me, I'll let you know. But the most obvious ones, Apple Podcast right on your phone, or you can Spotify or Google Play. So those download later if you're not catching this live on Facebook. If you're catching me live, thank you so much. Talking about, and I would appreciate any support. So as far as announcements, I have just one, this is the last podcast of the year, so I want to throw it out there one more time that we have 2 spots left for any women interested in going down to Puerto Rico for the Women's Wellness Retreat. It's an amazing, rejuvenating experience where we do a little bit of yoga, we do a lot of adventures, some personal growth work, and it's meant for all abilities. I wouldn't say that you have to be some advanced yogi whatsoever. I am not that at all. So feel free to join us. And right now the age range is pretty wide. So I'm super proud and honored to have a safe place for women to go of all ages and abilities to really enjoy. It is 21 and over though. So check that out on my website, unstoppableyoucoach.com. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me here, or my email's right there on the website. So all right, so tonight I have Dan Williams here. He is the organizer of the Daniel Barden Mud Fest, and if we're going to bring him on, here we go. And then I also have Mark Barden, who's the father of the little boy who inspired this whole event. So first of all, I'm thankful that Mark was able to join us. Can you hear me, Mark, okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. Mark is joining us via Skype from home, and I'm super glad to have him as he's a major factor in all of this. And I want to hear a little bit more, if you can mention, Dan, kind of like how this started and your relationship with Mark, which, was super important to be the foundation of all of this. So if you want to just start with that.
Yeah, so my sister married a guy by the name of Frank LeBanca, a wonderful man, and they ended up eventually settling in Newtown and becoming next door neighbors to the Bardens. And so every time that I would travel down to see my niece Maggie, Daniel was best friends, next door neighbors, so he was there for the birthday parties and the christenings and all the little family events. So I guess Mark and I met, I don't know, maybe Mark, it was less than a half dozen times, I would say. But Daniel just was that special boy. I'll never forget him like holding the door for me. And kids don't do that. They just run through the door and they're just looking straight ahead. And he was just that. It just stuck in my mind. Just wow, this kid is just different. He was beautiful, and I'll just never forget the day just hearing about what had happened at Newtown. And I was working in Albany, and just realizing by the end of the day what had happened, and just was like the hardest thing I've ever had to do was to go to Connecticut and walk downhill to Mark's house and say, geez, what did I say? I felt stupid. Whatever I could come up with, it was I don't even really remember.
Yeah.
But when we went to his funeral, our entire family, I mean, probably I would imagine the nation was just feeling like, what on earth can I do? I felt total despair. And the last speaker just said, if you can do something to make this world a better place, if you can change the discussion, you've got something good to say, then say something. And, in that moment, it literally woke me. I was asleep, I feel like, for 40 years. And I had this, just somebody might say I had an epiphany. The course of my life was forever changed from that moment. I mean, I literally turned to my wife. I'm like, we're putting a mud run on for the Bardens.
Yeah.
Not knowing anything about doing anything like that. And literally walked out, made 3 phone calls, one to MKJ Farms, one to Saranac, and then one was to my logger friends to start building the chimney logs, because that's become kind of a key piece where we build these fire sculptures every year just to represent the life that they lived, and to me I think a symbol of what we do.
Yeah.
And it just kind of was born out of that. I didn't really know Mark, that honestly. I think as it is, like I said, it just kind of changed the course of my life, and now I feel like I've got a brother in Connecticut.
Yeah. So Mark, this was 7 years ago Friday. It was Friday, right?
Yes.
7 years ago Friday.
It was actually Saturday.
Saturday.
So
Okay.
it was a Friday in 2012, but Friday was the 13th this year, and the 14th was on Saturday.
Okay. So, 7 years, it's not much time when you get older, but when you're younger, 7 years is a long time. And if you can just basically share, the event for a second, like what happened, just to remind people, I think before we even share what this is, so people know what this was. I feel like there's a lot of young people that maybe didn't understand what this was, that may be watching. And if we can just touch on that for a second so we can make sure that they understand even what this is. I think it's very special that an event like this turned into the Mudfest, or even the canoe trip that we're going to talk about as well. So
Yeah.
would you mind sharing that, Mark? Or
No, of course, and I'll just kind of start by saying that something so beautiful and special and appropriate has come from such horror and tragedy, and that horror and tragedy was profound, and as you say, 7 years it feels like yesterday to me. And my wife Jackie's a school teacher. I'm a professional musician, and we are raising our 3 beautiful children here in Sandy Hook, Connecticut. And in my job, I was able to be home with my children during the day, and I wouldn't have traded that for anything. And Daniel being our youngest, we had developed a very special bond because we got to spend a lot of really nice quality time together. And he was a very compassionate, intelligent, articulate little boy, as Dan has referenced. And I used to tell him all the time, I love spending time with you, and I just love your company, because he was just a great hang. He loved music. He loved all kinds of things. He noticed the beauty in nature. And as Dan said, he used to hold the door for people. He used to care about really all living things. He would pick up the worms off the sidewalk and put them in the grass so they wouldn't burn in the sun. And he used to look out for his fellow classmates. All of his teachers would tell us that he would ask to sit with somebody who was sitting alone, because he had a wonderfully developed sense of compassion. And on that morning, Friday, December 14th, 2012, that all ended when a gunman shot his way into our Sandy Hook Elementary School and and killed 6 educators and 20 first grade children. And Daniel was among those who were shot to death that day. And 7 years, 70 years. I'll never get through this. I'll never get used to saying that or telling that story, and knowing that it was preventable. It was somebody else's choice, and my little Daniel is gone forever. And that light has been put out, and it's up to us now. It's up to all of us to carry that light. And I will say that that's exactly what Dan is doing with this incredible event that, as he said, hit him like an epiphany. And the evidence of that, how special that was, is apparent on that course, and it's not, you can't articulate it. And I will tell you, every year I run into somebody on that course who says there's something special about this that you can't articulate. Part of that is by design, in the way that Dan has designed that course for people to come together in that spirit of love and community and help each other through the course. You can't get through that course on your own. You have to be helped, and then you have to help others. And that part is by design, and I think that was so smart and intuitive. But there's something more to it, and we all feel it when we do that course. And I invite and challenge everybody to come be part of that and be part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, that's great. Before we even talk a little bit more about this, I want to commend you, Mark, for being so brave and strong to face this, and not just the sadness that comes from it, but the inspiration to actually make change and to do what you're doing. I did a little bit of Googling about you and your family, and I'm really proud of you that you're standing up against something that's really, really affecting a lot of people. And
thank you.
Yeah, and I know it hasn't affected enough people, apparently, because it's not really being talked about as enough anyway. So the ones that are standing up and speaking for those that are lucky to not have had it hit so close to home, we're thankful for you. So thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So the race itself, I gotta say, I ran it. So I brought my medal.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I'll tell you a couple of my personal things. Okay, so you can find pictures of me doing this. One picture I think you guys used in one of the cards. I'm coming up the tires.
Nice.
Yeah, and then that was like on your 5x7 postcard you sent out. So I was like, oh, there I am. And then there's another one where in the monkey bars, instead of doing like the monkey bars, like the regular hand over hand, I went above the monkey bars because they were so slippery, you couldn't hold on, it was so muddy. I went on the wood and like shimmied myself across, and my hands were like not the same for 2 weeks. There's like shards of wood.
As I say though, I really wanted the event to be super memorable and hard. And I often tell the kids, whether it's our canoe trip or if you run the event, the easiest things in life are so forgettable.
Yeah.
And I want this event to stand out, to be that thing where you feel like when you get that medal, it's an Olympic medal.
Oh my God.
Like,
it was actually pretty muddy. It looks pretty clean right now. I don't remember if I washed it, but it was filthy because they give it to you when you're so nasty. And it was like, but it's all clean now. So, yeah. And I agree that there's a lot of obstacles there that you have to have. You don't have to be there with a partner. We did run with a small group of people, like my friends, but there was times when we were going over like even those little wooden walls that the people behind you were just like pushing you over. And if once you got up there, you just stayed there to help the person behind you, pull them up. So it's definitely, it promotes partnership and, just thoughtfulness of the person around you or the behind you or in front of you or whatever.
We've got a really great guy at the starting line, Matt. He's a teacher at our school. Could work at ESPN. He's got a great announcer's voice. I did it year one and I felt trapped. Now I can be all over the place. And Matt does a way better job than I could do. So he's got this great message of getting everybody to think about becoming a great soldier. Today's training day, you're going to help each other around the course. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to go out and do good in the world. Yeah. You're going to change your outlook. You're going to look for the positives. You're going to help people up when they're down. And I really think, honestly, I told you before we started, I face depression every day when I look at, another shooting or inaction or a president who's, just a man-child. And then I just think about what can I do to make this world better. Yeah. And then it just gets me thinking, all right, I can't focus on the bad. I've been practicing yoga now for 2 years, and it's changed my life. I was talking with my neighbor the other day as we were rolling towards yoga, and I was like, how'd your semester go, Lindsay? And she was just like, this was bad, and that was terrible, and this wasn't good. And then we get in yoga, and our instructor was like, if we focus on the bad, we that's it. We focus on that, and that becomes who we are and what our life is. And you got to focus on the good. So we rolled out of yoga, and we're going home. I was like, hey, Lindsay, how'd your semester go? She was like, well, I had this one student that did this, and she just changed her mindset. And it's easy for us to fall into that. And Mark and I were talking about this piece that just came out on PBS, and you've got these nitwit hoaxsters, these, this subhuman scum, and they want us to give them that attention. They're absolutely, I don't know what their problem is, but they want to grab our attention. Yeah. And we just need to just push that back, take the light and shine it on the good. And and as I said to Mark, selfishly for me, I think once I realized, goal one first year was, I got to tell you, it was a drum beat in my head, just get the Bardens here, give them a giant mud hug, tell them, I love you guys. I know I don't really know you, and I know you think I'm crazy, but I just want to see you get back on your feet. Natalie and James are just wonderful kids of Mark's and Jackie's, and you guys need to get back up for them. And Mark called me that first year and just said, Dan, this really helped us a lot. Can we do it again? And I was like, oh yes, we can do it again. Yeah. I think I said, don't threaten me with a good time. And when you asked if we could make it bigger, I feel like I've fallen down on that, Mark, a little bit, but I don't
think so. I think it's bigger and better every year, and I can say I've been at every one, and I've done that course every time, and I participate every way I can. I play music at the end, and it's a great time from start to finish. It's amazing from that, and those announcements that start the race, like that you talked about, it's so inspiring, and it just really launches you into that course, and then the day unfolds into just great community and companionship and music and good food and drinks, and it just goes from there, and that spirit just sends us back to our lives with so much inspiration and encouragement, Dan.
Well, I appreciate that. Mark, I just finished up this business class in Goldman Sachs.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And my takeaway from it was the process and procedure. And I know it sounded dorky or whatever, but when we started the Mudfest, we had 10 obstacles, and we had about 1,000 participants that first year. And we just had the half-mile kids course and the 5K course. So now we throw in the 5-mile course, 35 obstacles. The kids course has got 14, 15. Yeah. So now, this last year I had this aha moment, oh my gosh, the boulder is so much bigger and it's so much further up the mountain that when it rolls down the hill, you can't control it. That's what I say. With the day of the race, we pulled a little stone out and it starts to go. So this winter, we're going to really get our ducks in a row on that. And I think we're going to see big things happen. We had 1,350 runners last year with a condition of weather I call shit, fuck. Can I say that on the D?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay, yeah. It was like snow with 40-mile-an-hour wind.
Yeah, that's why I didn't do it.
I'm
a baby.
We would have actually, we had 1,600 runners the year before. We had 1,350 this year. We would have easily eclipsed the 1,600 mark. But the week of, people saw the weather and they were like, I'm not dipping my toe in the ice water.
Yeah.
We're May 2nd this coming year.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. Just hearing May.
Yes. Oh, man.
I think is super helpful.
Yeah. I was going to ask that. I also wanted to ask, how many pairs of shoes do you find around the property that don't make it back to the end line?
We find a lot. In the first obstacle is tarred and feathered. I found a perfectly encased Nike size 10, maybe 11. I mean, this thing looked like it was right out of the shoe store. I was digging it out because every year I go in there and re-excavate it to make it muddy. And I pulled this perfectly. I'm like, somebody ran this whole race, lost their shoe like right off the start. It's like instantly.
I feel like the kids run. I was standing there watching these kids come through, and I'm like, half of them are missing either one shoe. Or a lot of them, like,
We find a lot of clothing in the parking lot.
Yeah.
For sure.
What do you do with it all?
I mean, the shoes, I would like to start to recycle them, and I think that is something that Tough Mudder started a few years ago.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, you know what? A lot of my gloves I wear at home, my work gloves are ones I find on the race. You know, people get to the monkey bars and they're like, they throw them off.
You'll be out there working next year, so I'll be like, hey, I lost those gloves here last year.
I get some really good, and you know what? That's great.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I need work gloves. So, yeah, bring a perfectly good pair and leave them for me. It's like a fringe benefit.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Good. All right, so the race happens. You come. So wait, you play music at the end, Mark? So you're a musician. Like,
Oh, yeah.
Are you playing like live music?
Oh yeah, I bring usually one, sometimes two bands, and yeah, that's a big part of it for me.
How fun is that?
This is
awesome.
okay. So this is what I say. I mean, okay. So we're the Boilermakers' dirty little brother. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm actually. Ed Reed said I can say that, and that's great.
Yeah.
And they have a great party.
Yeah.
Our party's a little different.
Yeah.
We have 7 bands on the main stage. This year, Gary Robertson got blown off the monkey bars. Like I said, the weather was shit. Fuck. But at any rate, normally we've got live music at the halfway point at the monkey bars. We've got DJs around the course. Mm-hmm. We're really a party that just so happens to have a mud run is the way I look at it. You know, certainly getting out there and running the course, but people really dig that party in the barn afterwards. I mean, I think it's one of the biggest barn dance. And this year, certainly we needed the barn, right, Mark?
Oh yeah.
It was a little rough. Next year,
it's hard to play Allman Brothers when your fingers are frozen together, but we still try.
Yeah.
Oh, they do great. And I'm going to tell you right now, Natalie, Mark's daughter, gets up with her band and they played, and it brings tears of joy to see her. You know, this was year 4 or 5, right, for her up on the stage.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, she's performed maybe at almost all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and she is just so stinking good.
That's awesome.
And just to see the development over the years, for me, it's just, she's the same age as my boy. She's a senior at Newtown, and I cried tears of joy and Mark every year plays Cortez the Killer for me at the end and absolutely shreds my face off with the guitar. It's phenomenal. To me, it's like this cathartic experience.
For me too, Dan. I feel the same way.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just on cloud 9 after the event. You're super dog tired. You've been working 80 plus hours, but to me, it's not even work. Like when I get over there, it's like I'm punching out for the day, and I'm just in my playground, and you know I can just get my creative juices flowing for. All right, what are we going to add this year? The course, I just say like God made the canvas, and half the courses.
Yeah.
You know, He gave us the glaciers. The glaciers provided this just amazing.
Yes, the shale up there. Is it shale? Those rock
Limestone.
Limestone.
It's limestone at the top, and to me, like that's where my dad played when he was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, there's like snow dunes up the top that stick around till. Whatever.
May.
Yeah, sometimes June even. But, so me, it's like this, history, it's where I grew up. I'm like, I've gone nowhere. I'm 2 miles from where I grew up.
Yeah.
And man, is it beautiful, though. It is just beautiful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get up on the top there, and that vista is just spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking 40 miles into the Adirondacks.
Yeah.
You really can't get a more picturesque view, I think, for a race. I mean, other than maybe go to Vermont.
It's definitely not something you would think of, like when people say you're from New York. They don't think of places like that, that's for sure.
Right.
And it's not like the Adirondacks at all. Like, so Mark, I actually grew up not too far from where this is all going on. And those are the woods I grew up playing in, But those rocks up there, like the way they just look perfectly carved out.
Yeah.
When you're walking next to them, it's really pretty.
Yeah. So all that stone was hauled down on like by horses back in the day for the canal.
Oh, so that's what that is.
Yeah. So they did actually cut it. So yeah, this year we added Corey Mays, and the course actually, instead of running alongside of that rock face, we have you go up, and then my buddy gave us a bunch of hemp rope, and we made ropes going up and then ropes coming back down, and then you literally run even deeper into it. It added a nice little dimension to it, and it was like, you know what? Like I said, it was there. Let's play on it.
Yeah,
Right.
that's awesome.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so when all is said and done, let's talk about what this event turns to do. Like, what did it start as? What is it doing now?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like just getting this message out of, I kept hearing afterwards, well, this is just the world we live in, we're just going to have to deal with this. So let's put fences up. Let's go cameras. Let's get cops everywhere. And I was like, God darn it. I mean, I just feel like we're reacting. We're not changing anything. And, year 3, I've got this buddy, Dan. He's like 6 Ways to Kevin Bacon. Hopefully he's listening right now. But he has turned me on to so many good people. And I kept thinking, I want to get into schools. I want to talk about getting outside, disconnected from video screens. And I know, Daniel, I know even myself, like being outside, being muddy, that's where kids need to be. And so this buddy Dan of mine, he says, there's this Outward Bound program in Cooperstown. Because I was like, man, I just want to take and get kids in a program. And so we found this Odyssey program that it existed in Otsego County. And I didn't know anything about it because, we're up here, we're just far enough away. But basically what it turned out was they had been sending kids from Otsego County on this 78-mile canoe trip from Blue Mountain to Tupper Lake. And it's a leadership program. So they found the best effect was taking 8th graders going into 9th. It's a very pivotal year. And when I look back on myself, like I just, all the hormones are going on. All the teachers hated me. I hated them. But to get a kid, a boy or girl, out with kids in the Connecticut area. So it just kind of blossomed. I was like, all right. Went down, met with Jimmy Diliberto, the director of the program, and he was like, man, I don't know if I can take on more. And I was like, I'm not leaving until you ask me to stay. And he was like, all right, we'll do it. So the first year we kicked it off, and we sent 8 kids from Connecticut and 8 from our area, and we merged the groups together. And so it was like 4 kids from Connecticut, 4 kids from our area, Madison, Waterville, Sequoia, Clinton, and sent them up into the woods. And they just had such a great experience through that, and they stuck together. And I talk to these kids, they're still connected. Yeah. The way the program works is they've got 2 counselors with 8 kids, and the kids all have a job to do. You're going to be a navigator today with somebody else. You 2 are going to be in a canoe for the length of the trip. It's 10 days. They've actually pared it down. They've got it down to 8 days now. So it's 8 days. It's about 10 miles a day. 2 of them are going to be cooks. 2 are going to be environmentalists. 2 are going to be journalists and photographer. And then they switch them up. And I didn't realize this in the beginning, but they have exactly 5 questions they can ask. And so they learn. And as the trip progresses, they...
So throughout the entire trip, they only can ask 5 questions?
Per day, but then they cut it down. So within like 3 days, they can only ask 3 questions. So as they learn their job. Oh. And my son actually went on the trip 2 years ago, and he's kind of... I love Gabe, but he's kind of an airhead. So he's like, so what kind of questions can I ask? And they're like, that's 1. And he was like, oh, no. But but we've seen really great things come out of that.
Yeah.
And so the first year was kind of a tough sell because they're like, who's this old guy selling me some trip I'm going to go on? I can't have my phone. I'm not going to know anybody. I'm going to have to poop in the woods, and I'm going to have to cook and eat whatever. But it's been amazing. It brings tears to my eyes when I go. Every year now, I'll have a kid, a 9th grader up there. It'll be telling these 8th graders, you guys have no idea how addicted you are to your phone. And you have no idea how beautiful the Adirondacks are. And like this, I get these letters from these kids and like, this changed my life. Like, that's what I'm after. The really important part for me, even before that happens, is just to get into the schools and just to tell them, like, if you guys, we can't do enough policing. If you guys treat each other with respect, if you see somebody that's down, lift them up. If you see somebody that's in a bad way, say something. And I think we can change it that way. If we can spread this message of love, of helping each other, that's going to be way more effective than cameras, more guns, more police, more fences. None of that is really going to work. That's all going to be reactionary. I'm in the schools, and I know if somebody wants to come in and do harm at any school, because I go to a lot of these area schools to offer our program, that it can still happen. The only way we combat this is from within, from getting that sense of community. So that's the first part of it. The second part is we ask the kids to research and pick a charity that speaks to them. And so we've been able to have this butterfly effect where, all right, we send these 16 kids and hopefully we turn them into great leaders and they can have change within their school, but then also that they can get that sense of giving back. And I want to find out what they have to say. I feel like we're going to change this thing by changing our this next generation that's coming up. Yeah. And I tell them, I'm like, I didn't wake up till I was 39. My life was all about me. I was me. I'm driving hard to, make my business successful, and what can I do for my family, and let's go on a vacation, and let's buy this. And I really didn't really find out what life was really about until I started the Mudfest. The best thing, if I take all the greatest things that ever happened to me, they're like a tiny little speck compared to that first year, and just that sense of like, wow, I was able to help this family, and I'll never forget that. That just to me is like the greatest thing that ever happened to me, and it was through me just giving. Yeah. To now it's easy. It's like I could do anything. And I'm fortunate. Like, I've had a blessed life. I had, for starters, really awesome parents. Without them, I'm nobody. Yeah. It just.
How many kids do you think that you have sent on this program?
So this will be our 5th year coming up. So over 60 kids.
Yeah. Have you tallied how many people have run the race over the years?
So.
Well, it's probably a lot of repeats too, but so
over,
how many times the race has been run?
Yeah, and I don't know. That's interesting. And we do have our diehards, but I mean, in the many thousands. Yeah, I would say. Yeah.
Have you ever put that together, Mark? That how many people have been affected and put through a rigorous, team building race, and then also 60 children have spent a week in the woods unplugged, in the name of your son. Have you ever thought about that?
I think about it all the time. I think about that amazing ripple effect, and what Dan Williams has done to carry my little Daniel's spirit of kindness and compassion and awareness of others out to those 1,500, 1,100, 1,600 runners, and then to these kids who are really taking that deep dive and that experience afterwards. It's such an honor. It's such an honor to be able to share that beautiful little spirit of my Daniel with all these people in such a meaningful way. I can't tell you how much that means to me.
Mark, I got to say, it just like I said, it was hard the other day. So we're in a business group together, and I had to give a talk about my business, but I segued about the mud run for 8 minutes, and I Was I was like basically on the edge of tears the whole time. Yeah. I told myself today, like, I'm not going to cry because it's an hour and I did yoga, and so I'm going to be dehydrated. But this has altered the course of my life forever. And I told you, I think year 2, that I'm not going to stop. There's absolutely nothing gonna get in my way. And now as I look forward, I'm like, the next chapter of my life is I'm freeing myself up through this business class to really be able to focus on the Mudfest and to take it to a greater level. I just feel like if we can get on the mountaintop, I don't want to bring up the numbnuts in Washington, but honestly, if those people can ascend a high power to do absolutely nothing or just terrible things, then why can't I ascend and do good? And if we can continue to make this thing grow, I think we can really. I know, I'm totally confident that we can take this to the next level where we can affect change in a real meaningful way. It's the only thing that gets me up now, because I mean, the first goal was, like I said, to get you guys back on your feet and going again. And obviously, you're doing that. But the next deal is to take Washington and flip it upside down, because it's way past time. Mm-hmm. It's way past time.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. I'm super, super excited that this event is so close and to home for me, being here. But I think it's really great that you've brought together 2 not so close areas. I know that there was a couple of families that were affected by this particular shooting. I think there was a family in Sherrill who had a grandchild or something who was in the school or something like that. And then this connection. So it was really unique. But how, that whole, like, when they go low, we go high kind of thing. How amazing that, and I'm so, as a mother, I just can't imagine being in the position that your family's in, Mark. I can't imagine. And the saddest thing is that when you are in any school events at this point, there's always the opening remarks are explaining to you, where the exits are and if there's ever a situation, it was never used to be like that, So I would way rather start an event with a motivational speech or, something that spreads love, something that spreads hope, something that spreads not fear. I think like these kinds of events so often are spreading fear, and you hear a loud noise when you're in public and everyone's like, oh, what was that?
Yeah.
And, it's just so sad to see what's happening because of these types of events. Not to mention the loss of innocent people who just happen to be at the right place at the wrong time and living their lives, going to school, People ask me all the time, you travel, you take your kids, you go here, you go there. I am more worried that in their school than the places I'm taking them in third world countries. These things are not happening.
This is what I said the other day in my United States of America. It doesn't have to be this way, and this is something that we need to wake up. Our democracy is teetering on the edge right now, and it's through complacency. And I know, Mark, you see this. It's just people are just so self-centered right now, and they're so distracted, and they're not able to see that we're being played by fear.
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
Totally.
And that's like with the message of, should anything, an emergency arise, here are all the exits. I mean, starting an event at the school when we're singing holiday music or whatever, that's beautiful. To start an event like that is nothing but another reminder that this is happening.
Yeah. I would so 2 years ago, I ran New York City Marathon, or no, 3 years ago now, I guess, for Sandy Hook Promise.
Yep.
And it was so Boston had already happened.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
then I was not in the first wave. I was in the second.
Mm.
And the cannon went off, and everybody ducked because it sounded like a bomb going off. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And I've been around a lot of guns and stuff, but I ducked too because you're just thinking about Boston. You're thinking, here we are, we're all corralled in. I just feel like I said, what the discussion is always back to that kind of thing, and we're focused. I always say when I'm skiing in the trees, if you focus on the tree, you hit the tree. So, you got to look for the opportunities.
Yeah.
And, we're just constantly being played back to this. Well, oh, you got to fear it. And I'm not doing it.
I know it breaks my heart when I hear my little Natalie say, I lay on the beach and I think I could get shot right now. Or she goes to movie theaters and has anxiety because she feels like I could be shot in here. And that's no way to live. It's our kids, our high school kids should not be going through their daily routine wondering and worrying if they're going to be shot. And we can do better than that. And like Dan said, it's not about being prepared for the quote unquote inevitable. It's about doing a better job of preventing it from happening in the first place.
Oh, it's 100%. And these people, Mark, I'm done. You can see I'm wearing the Nope shirt. It's my Trump 2020. But honestly, I'm done. People are like, oh, you're going to lose business. If you want to not do business with me because I'm speaking common sense, so be it. So be it. Yeah. You know what? There's plenty out there because I'm not selling my soul. Okay, I don't need to do that. So I'm just laying it down right here. I had a guy the other day say to me, he's like, if you're not for Trump, I don't think we can do business. I said, if I rented like $30,000 worth of equipment from you. Did I return it in good condition? Yes. Did I pay my bill? Sure. Okay, let's not get him involved. Okay, I'm a good person. I'm going to shake your hand. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. That's what we need to worry about. That's where our focus has to be.
Good for you. Yeah.
So, and then we left the meeting and I was like, whatever, it is what it is. But I just, I got to call it what it is.
Yeah.
I want to throw this back towards Mud Run. Can I do this?
Yeah.
Okay, so my buddy Brett made these handcrafted plaques last year, and I feel terrible about this because the kid broke his chops to get them all done the day before the Mudfest, and this one was sitting in my basement till now. But I really wanted to do a presentation of it because Z has done our music every single year. He's organized it, and Mark knows. He's talked with him. He does a phenomenal job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he does.
And so I just want to present this. Z's are one of our top sponsors, for the Mudfest, and so he's going to be back on track next year for sure. He couldn't be here tonight because he's at the Stanley drinking beer, but
yeah, they're having their holiday party.
Yeah, so, but they've been
awesome, though.
Absolutely phenomenal. And my buddy Brett Glazier, who's been super helpful every year. Year one, I was so ill prepared. I was up at 3:00 in the morning. I was out putting tape on the course with my buddy Brett. Him and I ran cross country together, and he's like, are you ready for this? And I was like, absolutely not.
Are you ever? I mean,
no. Like I walk around and I'm like, oh. And it's like the little details nobody really notices.
Yeah.
Except, the wedding planner. You're like, oh man, we didn't do that. But there's just so many details and 5.5 miles of course and 50 obstacles when you add it all up. It's like, oof.
Yeah. How does it last over the winter?
Good. I mean, honestly, our biggest issue right off the bat is because we gain so much elevation, so it's a very dynamic, weather-prone area. Lots of wind, ice. So step one is going to be just going across the course and cutting all the dead trees and any limbs that have fallen down. That's number one. Hopefully we get the snow off in time. We've struggled in years where we were literally out there shoveling.
Yeah. What about the big wall? Do you take that down at all for wind?
Nope, the warp wall stays up. And actually, I rent the course from Jack now. He was wonderful. I mean, 6 years, we paid nothing. I don't know who you would find that would say, yeah, sure, do whatever on my property. not even think about liability or anything. I'm digging ponds. I'm going wherever. I'm absolutely dragging mud
You do
across.
all that yourself?
Yeah. So we own a construction company, which is, I think, that pretty much set us up perfectly for this. You know,
Have
we
all
have
the toys to
we have
make
all the
it
tools
happen,
and we have the knowledge, and then we have, like I said, the perfect canvas. But at any rate, I said to Jack last year, all right, we're going to rent it from you, and then I can leave obstacles up, and the farmer can plow around them and put corn up. So warp wall stayed up, kilt tilter stayed up, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory stayed up, whereas in the past we had to take it all down, put it back up.
Great.
Paul Bunyan's cabin, we actually, that one at the finish line with all the dumpsters,
Oh,
we still take that down because it would get in his wedding pictures.
oh. Yeah.
But I think so year 8, I think year 2 we built that on a beer box. It took like at least 330 packs to build it. But
So you have a whole team of people that kind of like friends and
that just come out. But I'm actually in part of like changing everything and becoming more process oriented. I'm bringing in a bunch of carpenters, and we're going to do a better job of building stuff so that it'll last longer. And you know, safety is super important. I mean, we've dodged bullets. Things have happened in the past where I'm like, oh my goodness, I just don't want to have something happen. We're trying to
Ruins the whole
celebrate,
thing.
you know,
Yeah.
Dan Barden. We're trying to do a lot of great things, and then I just don't want to have people are going to get hurt. You know, maybe a broken ankle or, you know, whatever. But I just don't want to have anything major happen. So I'm really taking a good look at all of that as well.
Yeah.
And you're going to have
a risk you have to take, though. I mean, I feel like it's risky no matter what.
But if I can mitigate as much as possible, I just don't want it to be like, oh, well, Dan built this thing and it fell down and, you know, for God forbid, killed somebody. Because
you don't want
then
that.
I'm gonna have to carry that weight the rest of my life. Irish Ninja Warrior. If you go over on the 5-mile course, we have a giant rope swing that absolutely throws you. I got a video. I don't know if we can put it up there, but.
We can post it in the comments
We'll
later.
post it later,
Ahead of time I could have,
but it's time it needs to be redone. Let's just say we got through this year, and I was like, "Whoo! Oh my goodness!" It didn't fall apart because it was just it's hard. It took when we built it that first year. I mean, we worked on that darn thing for at least a solid week, and there was 4 of us.
Yeah.
Excavator, telehandler, skid steers.
Yeah.
You know, we cleared a whole brushy area, dug 3 ponds.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty involved.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I know that I meet folks all the time who do Tough Mudders, and they say this one is absolutely the best. I know Cody Foss, he's like a real like hardcore athlete, you know, polar runs and all that. He said, man, that course is legit. He's lots of people are very impressed with the challenge.
So, Mark, year 2, if you'll recall, we had Pepsi come in as a main sponsor, and there was a guy, the representative that year was this guy, Phil, who was like, he went all over the world running Spartan races, and he was telling me beforehand, he was like, it was the first year of the 5 mile, and like a jackass, I laid the course out, it was like 30 below with the wind chill, and I went like, way up onto the far reaches of the property, and it snowed so much that year, and we had moved it to April 5th, so it's just like a collision course with nature, right? So the upper part of the course, we called it Glacier Ridge. It was literally like a 15-foot thick snowdrift, and you were post-holing up to your waist in it.
Yeah.
And it was cold, and we had a condition.
I'm so happy you moved it to May. Because I haven't run since, and I never ran it before because I'm in Puerto Rico as much as I can be in Puerto Rico in the winter.
Yeah.
I cannot handle this race.
So Phil says ahead of time, and he gave us a check for $20,000 as a main sponsor. It blew my mind. He's like, I'm going to run the 5 mile, and then I'm going to come back and run the 5K. And I was like, yeah, so if Phil gets on the line, I'll kiss him right on the lips, if he even gets on the line for the 5K. And I saw him come out of Shawshank Redemption, which was like literally, if you saw Shawshank, like coming through a sewer pipe and pushing out the other side. And he came up the hill and he was shaking like crazy. And I was like, Phil, you ready to get on the line for the 5K? And he couldn't even utter a word. His lips were blue. He crossed the finish line. He got in his car, and we never saw him again. And I was like, oh, shit, man, we just lost Pepsi. Because there's no way. He wasn't even on stage to present the big check. He came back. He went to his hotel. He took a half-hour hot shower, got into, like, snowmobile weather clothes, came back, and was on stage. And he was like, your 5-mile race was harder than a Spartan 13-miler. Yeah. I was like, no kidding.
Yeah.
Like, all right, cool.
That tunnel you're talking about, the year I did it, the whatever was on the ground, I'm pretty sure it was water, but it was frozen, solid. So it was very slippery. You're laying on your stomach. You're, that wounded soldier crawl through it because there's not enough height in it to even like go up on your hands and knees, and it's so slippery you can't anyway. But whatever little rocks or sticks that were sticking out of the ice, that was what I held on to pull myself through. So it was just like a crawl, with like pulling on whatever random things were.
Yeah.
I was so freezing cold. But so by the end of it too, I was like, physically it's challenging, and I'd like to think that I do enough to stay fit, but I was challenged, and it was very special. I would have stayed for the after party, but I had to go. There was the mommy and son dance, whatever fundraiser. So I had to go from there to a hair salon to get ready to go to a formal dance.
Oh man! So you had to get all the mud out.
One thing to the other, one extreme to the other, but. I was really cold. And towards the end, what becomes so inspiring is that you do depend even more so, especially for the wall. And then there's is it right in the end? Is it the big wall? Well, it's the really hard one
right
at the end.
The warp wall, warped imagination.
Yeah, so I wondered if I could do it. Like I struggled with it, and eventually I did it. But that was one of the things that you have to depend on complete strangers.
Yes.
From the top, and then you got to give back. When you get there, you got to give back to the people down.
I decided we were going to build a warp wall the week before our Mudfest 3 years ago. My brother-in-law, I thought he was going to kill me because he was so pissed when we drew it out on a Labatt beer box, made some calls. It was like all of a sudden it's coming together, and he was like, this is ridiculous. It is way too high. Someone's going to get hurt. And I'm like, you don't even know, man. I got it figured out. My buddy's a rock climber. We're going to put the Hamilton College hockey players up there. They're going to be harnessed in. It's going to be totally safe. No, he's like, no one's going to make it, right? No one's going to get up that wall. And the best video, it should have gone totally viral, was his daughter, Hanley, at the time. Hanley was 9. Mm-hmm. She couldn't get up the wall. This guy that I know is a chiropractor. He flipped himself upside down. She crawled up his body. His feet were facing up the wall. She climbed up his body. He pulled himself up the rope. She was standing on his feet, clawing her way up. It was like a salmon going upriver.
I'm nervous just hearing the story.
And she clawed her way to the top and made it. And it took forever. I mean, it was like a minute-long video of just struggle.
Where there's like this cinematic vision of this guy like hanging down over the top of the wall with his arm outstretched and this little muddy hand trying to reach up, and they finally connect and he hoists her up, right?
Yeah. And it was those
guys up at the top, they're just yanking everybody up to the precipice there.
Yeah, but that was the way I envisioned it. I was like, it's gonna be hard, and not everybody's necessarily gonna make it. But I had no idea. Like, I put Gary Shackler there. Gary couldn't run the race. He was so bummed out. And he's like, I'll go wherever. We put him at the warp wall because his shoulder was bad. He was getting ready to go in for surgery. He spent the whole race shoving people up. When I got up there, he's like, oh my God, I should have just run this. But he didn't even care. He just pitched in and kept shoving people up the wall. Yeah. And it just turned into this.
That needs to alternate. I can't even imagine doing that for every person coming through there.
And the hockey players, every year we get the Hamilton College hockey team comes. It just blows my mind. because, Hamilton College, it's an upper crust kind of atmosphere there, and they come and they do whatever, right? This year, the valedictorian for Hamilton College was on the hockey team, and he actually talked about Mudfest in his valedictorian speech of it being one of the best things that he did in his 4 years at Hamilton College. Yeah, I actually have a plaque that we're going to bring and present to the Hamilton College hockey team for what they've done over the years. And that gives me just such great joy.
Good support.
Yeah, I mean, just to think, like, they don't have to do that. And yet they look forward to it. This year, I had them all, a bunch of them in the side-by-side. I was taking them up to the Valley of What the Fuck. That's actually
I know what
one of our obstacles.
There's a rope in that, right? You got to use the rope to get out of it?
You actually go down. So it's on the 5-mile course. You peel off of the 5K course, and so you'll go up, and then you come down. When you come to the Valley, can I say what the fuck?
You can say anything you want.
All right, so when you come to the Valley of What the Fuck, it's funny because there's a sign right there. And I ask the kids every year, I'll go to clear the valley out after the last participant's gone through. And I'm like, so what do people say when they get here? He's like, you know what? They say, what the fuck? And they haven't even looked at the sign yet. And I'm like, because when I laid the course out and I got there, it was 30 below. I'll never forget it. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah.
It's so awesome. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. So I'm going to go look at some comments here. We don't really have any questions, but just wanted to do a little shout out to a couple people that have joined us. Carl's on. Hi, Carl. My aunt, my aunt is making fun of me, basically saying you are all crazy, and how did your manicure make it through the frozen mud pebble sticks? Whatever. I'm not even. And then keep up the great work, Dan Williams from Stephen Turnbull.
Nice.
Yeah. And then Tammy Alcott.
Yeah.
I love this, she says.
Yeah, she's out on the West Coast, maybe. She's in Portland.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
And then my aunt's also sharing that she has pics of me playing in the mud. Yeah, because I grew up out in Madison, so we were in the mud.
Yeah, and Madison, I worked hard to get kids involved in the canoe trip there. And they're like, you're not going to get anybody here. I'm getting this from, the staff there. And I'm like, well, let's give it a try. And then I just had the greatest experience with this kid that went last year. And, I go to present, or he would have been the year before. I mean, it just brought tears to my eyes when he's like, you guys need to wake up. You need to pay attention to this guy, and you need to go on this trip. And I was like, this is coming from a 9th grader. I'm like, this is what I want, creating these brush fires of good.
Yeah.
Instead of it being a bad thing. Yeah.
Truly, the ripple effects from this event are immeasurable, because you don't know what these kids are then doing when you're not watching. And I mean, we all have those memories, those like profound events that we were a part of as kids. Like I went to this church camp. I'm not religious at all, but I went to this camp and I met some amazing people there. And I can look back in my teenage years knowing that like some of those memories were like the most profound things, because I was in the middle of nowhere, in the woods, spending time away from parents, no phones. We didn't really have phones that much, even when I was a kid yet. But you go back to think of those moments, like, and now when I see, when I take groups of people into Puerto Rico and I'm like, this is awe-inspiring, this is my church, this is my moment to share something that I feel, healing powers through, I think of the times I spent in the woods, or I think of the times that like I've spent in similar situations. So you have no idea, like 10 years from now, what these kids that have been on this trip are doing that, are continuous ripple effects from this, you really, it's immeasurable.
I honestly feel like, for myself, like I said, I get depressed when I think about how slow we are to change and how poor our leadership is, from certainly on a federal level, and state isn't great either. But I feel like if we implemented outside time, mandatory, and I'm not talking about playing competitive soccer or football or something like that. I'm saying just get kids outside, re-immersed in nature. I know for myself it's the best medicine because I can have the pressures of running a construction business and jump on my mountain bike or get out on my skis or just go. I went for a hike Sunday night, took my dogs and my wife and I went out and just did a quick half hour. There's scientific experiments being done in Japan to deal with depression through doses of nature. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it wouldn't cost anything. I built a beautiful trail system for our Waterville cross country program, and it was so fun to get the kids out there. Every year we're out there improving our trails, building something. They just have a really great time doing it. And I'm like, what if we tried this? And Mark, I know I'd really like to touch upon what you guys are doing with Sandy Hook Promise because I think it's vitally important. And
well, I think we have touched upon it indirectly, Dan and Heather. Just around this whole idea of prevention and around of community and connection. We train kids to look out for chronic isolation and connect with people. We train kids to, I think Heather, you said it. Say something if you see somebody who's potentially at risk. Connect them with somebody who can help them, and it's really as simple as that. And we just with Sandy Hook Promise, we offer those trainings to schools at no cost, and we're saving lives. We also have an anonymous reporting system that the kids connect with a live crisis center, and they just did a great feature on that on the news. But it's we're literally saving lives. We're intervening on suicides. We're creating more connected cultures within our schools across the country. So I'm very honored to be able to continue Daniel's legacy that way as well.
Yeah. I had a high school an elementary principal on here a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about emotional intelligence with the younger kids and how important and crucial it is to get children using their emotional intelligence to be able to process and handle challenging moments in their lives or things like that. So then when they become adults, they have these tools to use naturally when you have conflict, so you're not resorting to extreme measures. And do you do anything with emotional intelligence with that program with the kids, or? So I'd say the Start With Hello program is a great example of cultivating that idea of kind of like what my little Daniel used to do. If you see somebody who's always left out and feels invisible, teach them the value in connecting with that individual, because we know from research that chronic, sustained social isolation can lead to at-risk behavior. That certainly was the case with the individual that murdered my little boy. So, so we know from a direct nexus back to what happened to us in Sandy Hook, the value of that and making people feel valued and visible, and then also the way that we see kids who are empowered by the tools that we give them with the Say Something program. It does build on their social intelligence with regard to not only observing at-risk behavior, but actively looking for it, especially in social media where they're on these platforms that their teachers and their parents are not. So they are literally the eyes and the ears, and we empower them with the responsibility just to pass that information on to a trusted adult. They don't have to make the intervention. They don't have to take care of any guidance or any support services. All they have to do is observe the behavior and then connect that individual to a trusted adult who then can decide maybe this person needs a conversation or maybe something more serious. So we feel, and we watch the kids become just empowered with these tools and with that feeling of being an upstander and connecting with their peers in a way that they may not have thought of before, or in a way that's validating a behavior that they're already practicing and showing them how important it actually is. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know how you feel about the saying, everything happens for a reason. And I would never even know how to find a reason behind something like this. And but when it happens to people who are strong enough to face it with kindness and face it with hard work and face it with the desire to change things and make it better so this doesn't happen to somebody else, to see somebody else's needs become important when you're hurting so much is powerful. And I'm sorry that this has happened to your family, but I'm thankful for your response. So
Thank you, Heather. I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. How are
Thank
you
you.
doing now? How is your family? How are your other children?
That's a tough question to answer honestly, because it's constantly changing. Jackie and my wife Jackie and I our primary focus is to provide as much emotional support and stability and love as we can for James and Natalie, and then whatever else is left after that. But we are so fortunate to be surrounded by an incredible family and then this incredible community, of which Dan's sister and husband are part of. In Newtown here, this community has literally just wrapped its arms around us and helped us and held us up and lifted us along, and they continue to do that. Literally from the moment the news broke of this tragedy until today, we have been just supported and loved, and I know that there are families who are enduring this pain every day in our cities across this country, who are losing loved ones to gun violence, who don't have that support and those connections. An outpouring of love. So I do count my blessings that we are so well supported, and we have so many things to be thankful for.
Mm-hmm.
We just went down to my sister's for Thanksgiving, and Mark was playing the night before at a bar, and to me it was like a Mudfest reunion. There's Nicole Hockley, she lost her boy Dylan, she was there, and Ian Hockley, and just a bunch of people I've run a bunch of Ragnars with with the Hockleys, and it just feels like a second home to me now. It was really great to be able to.
That's right, because a lot of that incredible support network of wonderful friends that we have and our family from around the country, but a lot of folks from Newtown make that 4-hour hike up there every year to that Mudfest and get into the mud and run that course and dance and play music with us and just and be with us. So Dan is right that most of the folks in that room, and there were probably a few hundred people in that room on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, are also can be found in the mud up in Deansboro at the Mudfest.
That's so awesome.
Oh, it's great. I mean, talking to Peter, I'm like, Peter came. I'll never forget that first year. I talked to him because he's like, who is this guy that wants to put this mud run on?
Dan Williams.
So we Skyped.
From Deansboro, New York.
Yeah, he was in Hong Kong. We Skyped.
Yeah.
And then he ended up coming to the event, and we were just joking around about that. Like, oh my gosh, like, like I said, my body was possessed by this idea, and it was just, became like, all right, I got to do this. I'm not even sure why. And Peter was like, I don't know who this guy is, because you just don't know, right? In this day and age. But now all of a sudden we are 7 years later. We're talking, about what we're gonna do, and
Yep.
it's just become so like family.
Yep.
For sure. I don't know if you realize, Mark, but even people like from, we live in Utica now. I do anyway, and Utica's about 20 minutes away from Deansboro. There's probably a lot of people in Utica who only live 20 minutes away from there and have no clue where Deansboro is.
Yeah.
Like, that's how small Deansboro, New York is.
It's the edge of the world.
Yeah.
And, part of that was like, when I started to think about this is we used to have the field days. And for like our community, we would always get together on that weekend, and then it just kind of fizzled out. And I think part of what is the problem that is driving a lot of this senseless violence is this loss of community. Mm-hmm. As we go to the devices and we're not connecting with our neighbors and we're not doing these things. So part of me said, I want to bring that back. And what's been phenomenal is every year I get to see people I haven't seen all year at Mudfest.
Yeah.
And I get to see people from Connecticut that, have become friends of mine that it might only be once a year, or might see them, down with Mark playing on a Wednesday, but it's a way of really bringing us back together, and I think that's important.
I got to come to the party. I didn't stay, like I said, but yeah.
You're volunteering this year.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there in whatever way.
All right.
And I should also share, Mark, if there's anything I can ever do as far as Unstoppable U is concerned, I would love to do anything to support this movement. I think it's really excellent. Not because it's just doing one little thing, it's doing a lot of things that are really changing lives. This isn't just talk, and it's not just this happened to me and poor me. There's none of that going on. Like, this is happening to really promote change. And
No,
I
I
think
think
it's excellent.
we're going to lock arms together,
thank
and
you.
we're going to continue to get more people to lock arms together, and we're going to demand that this change. Those powers to be right now, they don't fear us, but they should. It's going to have to flip. We've got to get to that point, because like I said, I'm not going to stop. I'm awake now. I'm fully awake, and and I told Mark, you're not getting rid of me. This isn't going to stop. And honestly, Mark, this class I just went through, it just made me realize that I can't do this alone. Like Melissa and I have, and Jess and Dave and Karen and Frank, we've been pushing this, and we've gotten to a point, but now I know there's so many other good people. Carl's part of our business group, and he's a wonderful photographer. Carl, I know you're listening. Carl's going to take charge of our photography this year.
Cool.
And he's a professional photographer.
Yeah,
he can do a better.
Plug. Carl Ermish Photography.
Yeah.
Plug him right in right now.
Carl Ermish is going to help take us to the next level on that, because there's people that are really good at things, and so we're going to plug them in. I'm still going to orchestra direct.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get up and play, but hopefully at some point, Mark, my goal is I'm going to pick an instrument up, I'm going to learn how to play it, and I'm going to play at Mudfest.
Bring it. I'll wait for that. Bring it.
What do you play, Mark?
I play guitar.
Oh, awesome.
He doesn't just play the guitar, he shreds. I'm telling you, faces, you just see him shredding when he's up there. It is amazing.
Yeah.
And who's your bassist in the one band?
Jimmy Keneally. Yeah, he was there with us Wednesday night in Newtown.
Jimmy's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap it up, I want you to share, use the platform right now that you're on to share like what you're looking for from businesses in the community to get involved, just so people know. So the big thing right now, we're,
obviously everybody's setting budgets for next year. So sponsorship levels start at $250 and they go all the way. If you want to be a metal sponsor right here, you can get your business on. There's going to be 2,000 of these passed out. And people wear these like an Olympic medal. Mine hang right on my dresser. So when I put my underwear on.
Exactly. Mine were, so I grabbed this on the way out. I'm like, oh, let me bring that. I ran this. So this is 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I still have it.
We actually put you, we'll put your business on the inside of this too. But we've got all levels. We've got sponsorship levels for all our obstacles. And we've got some wonderful sponsors that have been with us over the years, obviously with Saranac and Wheelock, Clinton Tractor and White's, the D, right? The Disruption Network. Yeah. But yeah, big thing right now is if you want to be a sponsor, we'll gladly, would accept that. And one thing you want to know is we're 100% for charity. Yeah. So we were volunteer run. Every dollar that we take in, if you're going to give us money, it's going to go to affect change. Yeah. And in a very, very positive way. One thing I am looking for is, so we asked the kids to research and pick a charity that speaks to them. We're going to step it up a level this year. So the 8 kids from Connecticut will all raise money for their charity of choice. And whichever kid raises the most money for their charity, we want to give them a kayak or a mountain bike, some kind of outdoor gear. And the same thing up here. Because I want to get them to, I hate that term, to get skin in the game, but we just know we can raise more money for their charity by getting them involved. Yeah. And I just think it's going to start, it'll be year one, we'll see what it does, but it'll definitely get them invested in it as well. And we can just have more positive effect on the world that way.
For sure. So, awesome.
Yeah.
So where can people find you?
So it's real simple. Go to bardenmudfest.org. And then, I know for folks, they're thinking, oh, there's no way I can run it. Great. Volunteer. We're going to need upwards of 200 volunteers. And you can get involved. Oh, yeah, it's right up on there. You can go on our website. You can click to donate. You can click to volunteer. You can sign up. We've got specials right now. And then just share as much as possible. My goal is that we sell out. And that's going to be somewhere around 2,000 runners.
Yeah.
Our goal is to.
What makes it sell out?
So what makes it sell out?
Is there an insurance cap? Is there an
no?
actual...
I just think maybe it's we've got an overflow parking lot that we're going to utilize next year, but maybe we can handle about 8,000 people. So if we get 2,000 runners, and say you got
spectators.
you're going to have a minimum 4,000 spectators. So that you're at 6. So somewhere around 2. I mean, that would be a great problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah, that's cool.
So and then just tell your friends. We want to have a bunch of people. May 2nd, it's going to be super warm. I've ordered great weather. You don't always get what you order. So maybe I'm going to order bad weather. Should I order bad weather? Because I tell people every year, I order good weather, and they're like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, like last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, sideways blowing snow. I mean, somewhere in between.
Yeah.
Well, at least you guys are from Connecticut. You're not from North Carolina coming up here dealing with that.
Yeah, you were a little prepped for it. But...
Right. No, we're. I think we're looking at a snow day tomorrow, actually. So yeah, we're not scared of a little snow.
Yeah.
But and here's the thing too. We Buell Fuels gives us on-demand hot water.
Yes. That was the only way I could do it.
And there's
I don't know how I would have done anything.
There's no run out there that gives you that. Okay. And then, beyond the run being definitely, like I said, I pack a 10-miler into a 5-mile course for sure. You get your money's worth. But then you can get back, get yourself the hot shower, get changed, and then have an after party like nobody has. I mean, this just... for those that don't stick around, you miss the best part. When Mark gets up there and plays, I'm telling you, the music, you don't find a musician that's going to put more soul into it than Mark. He absolutely, when he's done, he's wrung the sponge dry.
Yeah.
It's really, it's all
awesome.
out there. It's phenomenal.
Awesome. Okay. One of the things I like to do when I wrap it up, we're going a little over tonight, but this is good stuff. So I like to have you share, this is a big event. We've talked a lot about the event. We talked about your story, Mark. But if there's one, a one-liner or even just one little share, a message that you would share that inspires you, that you would share for somebody else to also feel inspired. If you could both do it, actually. So, Mark, you want to go first? Like, if there's something you can share right now that would inspire others, something you've learned through this process, what would it be?
Yeah, I guess I could just probably finish it up with kind of where we started, in that you just have to come and be there and be part of it and immerse yourself in that spirit that you really can't articulate. And I'll just say again, unsolicited testimonials from out on the course, from people that I run into, say there's something very special about this that defies words. And so I would just, again, challenge folks to come. And you don't have to go hog wild and barreling through all the obstacles. You can make it a nice hike through the woods. You can go around the obstacles. You don't have to run it. So you can kind of engage at whatever level is best for you. Or like Dan said, you can just hang out with the volunteers, listen to the music, sample the food. There's all kinds of ways that you can be part of this day, and just absorb that spirit, and then take that with you back to your community, wherever that may be. That experience and all of that love and fellowship and compassion and awareness, and start to spread that throughout your own community. And that's really how we're going to see the change that Dan is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mark, I think for me, it's the mind, it's the body, and it is the spirit. When we tell people about our run, like, this is going to be the first day of the rest of your life. That's the way I drew it up, and I hope that if you've never been there before, that you're going to come away from it being like, I need these 3 things: my spirit to be great, I got to be physically fit. So for those that are like, oh, I don't think I can do it, I've seen this with several people where I said, I'm going to give you a bib, you run. And they literally changed, they got fit, and they're like, oh my gosh, I was taking 10 pills before, I had high blood pressure, I had this, and I'm not doing any of that now. And to see them change. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you got to bring the mental, the spiritual is super important. Mm-hmm. And that's really, to me, I think, what we're trying to embody in the run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's an excellent event. You should be really proud.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you should be really proud, is right.
Well, my mom said pride goeth before a fall, so we're going to keep going.
Yeah. And I just from my little opinion, I wouldn't even get knocked up with these comments or any kind of negative shade trying to be thrown at your thing. That's a wonderful thing. Walk over anything negative. Don't even give it a kick. Don't even do nothing with it. You're doing something very wonderful, and there's power in numbers. There's a lot of people showing up for you. There's people helping. There's people volunteering their time, and it's powerful. And that in itself speaks for itself. I wouldn't even waste a minute being stressed about people trying to say anything or do anything.
There is so much good in the world, and I think we just need to focus on that. The news does 28 minutes of just horribleness all night, right? And then they give you the little blip at the end. And we just need to flip that.
Yeah.
We got to talk about the 30,000 planes that landed, not the one that didn't, and focus on the good.
Yeah.
And that's where it's going to be at.
Yeah. Continue pushing forward. I think it's great. You know, and again, I'm sorry for your loss, and thank you so much for being here tonight, despite having a difficult topic to talk about. But I think it's great that you're doing a lot, and I fully support anything that I can do.
Mark, I love you guys.
Thank you. Love you too, Dan.
Yep.
Thank you, Heather.
Yeah, so my next episode, again, a reminder for everybody, is not going to be until January 4th, live from Puerto Rico.
Sweet.
So while you're getting ready for the race and you're up there playing in the mud and in the snow, I'm just going to be,
maybe my wife will take the last
tropics.
2 spots if she's listening right now.
Why doesn't she come?
Yeah, because I'm.
Oh, I would love to have her.
Yeah. They were talking about going to Puerto Rico, her and her friend Tina.
Oh my God, let's talk after.
Maybe this can work.
Anyway, yeah.
Honey, if you're listening.
Mark, why don't you send your wife?
She could use that for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks, guys.
Yes. So anyhow, we will see you. Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, holiday season, however you celebrate it. Thank you so much for joining me in this year. 2019 has been an incredible year for me here at Unstoppable You. This podcast started in June, and we are 15 episodes in, and it's really fantastic. We have heard so many amazing stories from incredible people in this community and others who are doing amazing things, who have been faced with some of the most difficult adversities you can think of, who have come through and done things to really change others' perceptions or whatever. So a lot of really cool stories. So thank you so much for tuning in. And I will see you in 2020 right here on the Unstoppable You podcast, where we have unstoppable people, unstoppable stories, Unstoppable You right here on Disruption Network. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great evening.
Good night, Mark. Love you.
Bye-bye. Good night, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
So you just bought your dream home, and now it's time to move. Let's face it, nobody likes to move. All the packing, unpacking, lifting, upstairs, downstairs, and broken everything, including your back. Let the professionals at EJA Moving Company take all the stress and pain out of your move. Competitively priced moving, relocation services, office moves, and complete packing and unpacking services. They work with everybody to make it simple and easy for you to move and relocate. Call EJA Moving Company at 315-335-0516. When it's time to relocate, have EJA Moving do all the work for you. Hit them up online, ejamoving.com.
Hey, Disruption Network. This is Mike Sacco, the general manager at Nye Volkswagen of Rome. If you don't know me by name, it's only because you have not received the best deal. There's only one reason to leave Utica, and that's to come see me in Rome and get the best deal on your next new, pre-owned, or certified VW. Mention that you heard this ad from Disruption Network and receive $250 off your next vehicle purchase. You'll know why our customers say, I love my Nye VW. Come see us at 5865 Rome Taberg Road in Rome, or visit us online at nyvwofrome.com.
Want to know what's going on at the D? Hit up disruptionnetwork.net and check out our events calendar brought to you by the Events Co. Find out about upcoming guests, special events, concerts, show schedules, community activities, and more. Get connected at disruptionnetwork.net.